Next time you should just surprise me and do it in the middle of
Yeah!
Oh my God. Yeah, like that. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games.
And
board gamey things.
Exactly. We're back again with another board game snapshot.
Yeah!
Oy! That was a scary one. So for anybody that doesn't know...
Oh, sorry.
What?
I didn't realize I had these on still.
Oh, you have your glasses on, Jeff?
Yeah, I have to take my glasses
You gotta be careful with the reflection
in
the camera light.
They're hard to notice on the face, so...
He needs them to see.
I sometimes don't even realize I'm wearing them, so...
For anybody that doesn't know, our Board Game Snapshot series is a series where we do 5 mini board game reviews or previews or whatever. And we've got 5 games to talk about. And I would like to just shout out that this entire video is brought to you by Biomos from North Star Games. But we are going to talk about that more soon, okay? So you just stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for Biomos.
Let's jump into it. Now, the first game that we're going to be talking about today, you might be like, wait a second, you guys already talked about that in a snapshot. Well, we did. But we have some very exciting news for you. Doomlings, which is this crazy popular game, it was on Kickstarter years ago, and it just blew up. It's basically in everybody's house. Well, for all of those people that it's in their house, well, guess what? Now you can have more. More Doomlings. And this portion of the video is sponsored by Doomlings. So shout out to Doomlings. We are going to talk about imaginary ends.
Get it?
Like
Because
friends.
it's like friends.
Exactly. So like I said, we did already talk about Doomlings in a previous snapshot video, which I will link below because we'll go into a little bit more detail. But essentially in Doomlings, before we talk about the expansion, you are just trying to score as many points as possible before the world ends.
Correct.
Okay? The world is going to end. It's just, that's how life works. Sometimes the world explodes.
Just ask the dinosaurs.
Just ask the dinosaurs. It's happened once before. So that is what you were doing. And you were doing that by playing out different trait cards to your different types of Doomlings. And whoever has the most points, like I said, wins. And the traits are how you're going to be scoring those points, which is very exciting. But of course, within this, catastrophes are going to happen. They are inevitable. And eventually, a final catastrophe, a third and final catastrophe will pop up. The game will end because the world has exploded. Okay? And then you're going to just check and see who has the most points. Whoever has the most point, what, Jeff? Wibs.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows. Whoever has the most points, wibs. Yeah. According to what's in front of me here.
This features like a bunch of unique characters, weird effects, and it's just like a silly, endlessly replayable game. And you want to know what makes it even more replayable? Well, now we have the expansion. And that, like I said before, is Imaginary Ends. And this is a variety box style expansion. It comes with 127 new cards, which is a lot. It's almost as many as that comes in the base game. So you're just kind of adding a ton of stuff.
Doubling down.
Exactly. And there are 5 new, almost like Doomling species. So 5 new species. And some of those species even add in new types of mechanics.
Do you think that's a play on Friends and world ending? Do you think?
Absolutely. Imaginary ends, imaginary friends, the world ends.
Clever.
Very clever. So, like I said, there are 5 new types of like Doomlings, types of species we'll call them. There are magical merchants, and these add in a whole new like system mechanic where you actually like are selling your stuff. You're a merchant, so it's a whole new system that gets added into the game. And then there's also going to be deeplings, which are going to add some kind of like suppress mechanic where you're hiding different things underneath your trait cards to score more points. There's glitterings, moonlings, and fuselings. Okay, so there's 5 new types of species. Once again, endless variety. And just like in the original game, they are freaking adorable. So this one is called Frumple Pumple. This one looks like Jeff. It's called Toasty.
Did you take all the cute ones out?
Pretty much. This one's called Bubbly. Like, they're adorable. Little whimsy. Jeff, look at the Toasty one. That is so you.
Why?
Because it just is.
All my friends are gone, smushed between crackers and chocolate.
It's a marshmallow. There's Fumple Pop. Yeah.
I just want everyone to see what she says I am.
Can you guys see? But the point is, the art, just like in regular Doomlings, is freaking adorable, and every box is going to come with a mystery holofoil. And for people like us who enjoy collecting fun things, they're pretty awesome. Do you get it, Jeff? Because it says awesome, and it's like a little mermaid.
Oh, that was cute.
Yeah.
I love how I snatched that out of your hand like
you
a
sure
kid.
did. You sure did. So everyone's going to come with a holofoil card. And so if you have played Doomlings before and you want more Doomlings, you can find Imaginary Ends on Doomlings.com, and it is out now. So it is available now. You can pick it up, have some fun with your family. This is the type of game that I think a lot of families play together. I do feel like this is one of those like staple games now in the home. But that is Doomlings. So once again, shout out to Doomlings for sponsoring this portion of the video. Very adorable. It is very awesome.
Do you like witches?
Boy, howdy.
We have Evenfall from Nanox Games.
Mm-hmm.
This was sent to us for review. So
from Flat River Group. Thank you, Flat River Group.
Thank you to them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Evenfall is a Witches Coven-themed worker placement engine building game.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, what you were trying to do in this game is send out your witches through a portal to new places of power. These places of power are going to allow you to trigger new abilities, new ways to combo things together, ultimately with you achieving the goal of getting more power stones. So this is kind of a race for victory points. So in Evenfall, you're going to be playing as a certain coven of witches and elders and that sort of thing. There are some asymmetrical abilities that you can play with in this game. Each player is going to have their player board where they can get specialists. They have the ability to send out witches to certain areas in the game. They can also unlock their elders, and elders are allowed to go to certain areas that witches can't go onto. There's a shared board in the middle with worker placement spots that you can go to. You also can, as mentioned, there's a bit of a deck building element to this, engine building, I should mention. So you can play down cards in your own little coven area that might unlock worker placement areas for you to send your witches to go to. What's really interesting in this game is there's an inner circle and an outer circle on your player board, and that's primarily where you're going to be playing cards. As you collect these places of power, you're going to put them in your outer circle, and they primarily are going to generate resources for you of different types in order to buy and get other places of power. When those locations are in your outer circle, they're primarily not going to score you victory points until you shift them through an action to your inner circle. Usually that means the resources are no longer collected, but they're going to score you victory points at the end of the game, or they also will give you abilities to put your witches out and do different actions, essentially. There is also kind of this battling mechanism as well.
It's like area control.
Like kind of area control over the middle section of the board, which again is primarily where these actions are going to come from. So if you have like the most in one of these regions, then you're going to unlock a bonus ability or bonus resources. If you have the fewest, something might happen. You know, there's kind of this tug and pull of the middle board area. So on top of the battle phase and the area, it's called a battle phase, but it's really kind of just area control.
Yeah, you have the most witches.
There's a couple tracks in this game. One's the victory point track, it's pretty straightforward. There's also a mana track. So you're going to be spending mana to do certain things as well as your resources to buy places of power. But at its core, it's very much got a dip of a few different things. There's an area control element, there's engine building, and there's worker placement. All based around the witchy theme, trying to be the strongest coven by the end of the game. Whoever has the most victory points win.
Did we like it? The answer to that question is, yeah, we liked it. Definitely we liked it.
Yeah, it's very combo-y.
Very combo-y.
There's a lot to think about because there's resources you have to get, there's those power stones you want to collect, there's catalysts you can build, which basically give you more triggers, like more resources and that sort of thing. It's important to like manage your elders and also like at the bottom of your player board is you have 2 slots for like governors,
Mm.
and you're only allowed to have 2, and so making sure you get the right ones is important.
Yeah.
Specialists, like recruiting specialists, it's all about kind of like
cohesion
of your worker placement spots as well as your engine building.
Yeah, basically, like, this is the type of game...
It's like an efficiency puzzle.
Yeah, I feel like by the end of the game, you wish that you had, like, 2 more turns, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, it ramps.
Like, you're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do, so you're just trying to optimize the things that you can do within the time that you have. Because, like, when the game ends, you're just like, oh, if I just had 2 more turns and I could have done this and this, then...
Yeah, it's a relatively quick game. Yeah, it says 30 minutes per player. We did play this at 2-player. I would say it took us less than an hour with the teach.
Yeah.
So I think they're being a little bit generous.
We're also just very fast. Next up, we have Unmatched, Slings, and Arrows from Restoration Games, who very kindly sent us this game for review. Everybody already knows we love Unmatched. We now own all of it, except for Tales to Amaze.
I was just going to say, I feel like my win rate in this game against you is
low.
Very bad.
It is.
I feel like you win this game 90% plus times.
I do. That's right, Jeffrey. Yeah. So in this is the latest edition from Restoration Games for Unmatched, and it's the first one in a while that has been like outside of Marvel.
An IP, yeah.
So, which we love. We like Marvel, but obviously, like, it's kind of fun to like go into some of the classic stuff. So this one has Hamlet, Shakespeare, and Titiana. In our most recent play, we played as Hamlet and Titiana, and I crushed Jeff.
You didn't.
Like a grape.
You didn't crush me. The majority of our Unmatched games comes down to, if you don't kill me now, I'm about to kill you, and Jamie will kill me first. That's normally how it happens.
Yeah.
I played as Hamlet. Which was...
Oh, and there's also the Wayward Sisters. My apologies. I forgot. There's 4. Okay, Jeff, talk about Hamlet.
So Hamlet's interesting. You basically have to choose kind of like what...
To be or not to be.
Like what... I'm trying to think of the right word. It's not phase. It's like what...
What era he's in.
No, not even. Like, you basically have 2 options. You can choose to be or not to be.
That is the question.
That is literally the choice you have. And depending on what situation you're in, one will allow you to draw more cards, the other one allows you to do more damage. So a lot of what Hamlet has to do is decide when to be in each of those modes.
Or not to be.
So it's almost like attack, and then pull back to draw more cards, attack again, pull back, attack again, pull back, and do it more effectively than I did.
Yes. Definitely more effectively. And I played as Titiana, who has a really cool new mechanic, which are glamour cards. And so she has a glamour deck, and whichever glamour card is face up is going to be the active one. It's going to give her some kind of a special ability. Then those cards will get discarded, and you'll get to draw new ones, and then you could potentially bring those back into your deck. And I just thought it was really interesting, especially the first time that you're playing with her, because I didn't look through the glamour cards in advance, so I was like, ooh, what's she going to do now? What's she going to do now? Which was really fun.
Jamie gets really lucky a lot of the time, and she'll just pull randomly the thing she needs exactly at that time in order to do something, and that happens in this game, and it happened with Titiana.
When you got it, you got it. And
she needed one specific card at the end, pulled it, and won, and I was just like, okay, cool, you freaking jerk.
Yep, and both of the characters that we played also have their little, like, people that go with them. So for Titiana, that's Oberon. He's just kind of, like, meandering around. I basically consider the sidekicks to be meat shields.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I do the same.
But we have not yet played as the Wayward Sisters or as Shakespeare, so we'll give an update whenever we do that. But I really enjoyed this set. I think it's fun. I think every set is fun because the characters will play slightly differently, and you can just pick and choose who you want to play. Like, who do you feel like playing?
Yeah, I like that they come out with like characters that aren't specifically like traditional, like you know, I would never suspect Hamlet and Shakespeare to be in a fighting game.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's unique that they do that sort of thing. And it's interesting to see how they take those characters and make them into fighting-esque type
Totally.
Stuff, yeah.
So soon enough, Jeff and I are planning on doing an Unmatched tournament, so you will get to see us play all of the Unmatched characters in action.
Shotgun Bruce Lee.
Shotgun Deadpool.
I don't care. Bruce Lee will destroy Deadpool.
Deadpool will be fun.
Bruce Lee is going to win the entire tournament.
So I think we have like all of the sets as of right now. By the time the video comes out, it'll probably be another set out because they put so many out. But that is the plan. So stay tuned for that.
They did just announce a new set for Adventures.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
We
don't have Tales for Amaze.
Really
Tales to Amaze, though.
That the Ninja Turtles were in one of these sets.
You can use them, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Anyways, that is Unmatched Slings and Arrows. More to come on Unmatched soon. So, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that the video was sponsored by Biomos from North Star Games. So maybe let's just take a minute to chat a little bit about Biomos, which, by the way, is going to be available on August 1st, straight to retail. Mm-hmm. Okay? And just so everybody knows, if you want to test it out early, you can play it on BGA.
You can.
All right? Let's chat a little bit about Biomos.
Biomos is a puzzly race to complete different biomes, biome cards, by playing out landscapes onto their planet. So the board is kind of each player board is kind of a unique semicircle punch out. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be taking these terrain discs and placing them in your board. And what you're trying to do is complete biomes of similar patterns. Mm-hmm. Where it's difficult is like there are restrictions on where you can place things. So let's just say I placed one in. I can't then move that. I can't take it out and replace it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So as you put more and more on your world, mm-hmm. it's going to get harder and harder to complete the terrain types, right? There are ways in this game, depending on the mode that you're playing, that you can place a terrain in a certain specific area of your player board, and that will let you move one piece. Mm-hmm. So that can happen once.
Right.
But ultimately, what you're doing is racing for these biome cards, so it might be like, get 3 mountains in a row.
Right.
So the left side are easier biomes to complete, but they're worth less victory points. And those will shuffle throughout the game. So if you complete one, a new one's going to come out. On the right-hand side are the bigger ones that take longer to complete and are worth more victory points, but once they're completed, they're gone. Right. And they might be like 6 terrain types in a pattern. So it might be like 2 ice, 2 water, 2 ice.
It's a puzzle.
It's a puzzle and a race. Mm-hmm. It's about being as efficient as possible with your terrain tiles because it's going to be basically a draft, or not a draft, but like a market of terrain tiles that will come out, and they're pulled randomly. Right. So you might be like, oh, I'm going to go for this ice biome, and you might not get as much ice as you need.
Right.
You know, there are some biomes that say you can place any type. So you're never going to be stuck, but that's kind of the game.
Got it. Now, Biomos has 3 playstyles, and Jeff alluded to that. It has different playstyles, so you can do regular. There's also a family mode and a solo variant, so you can play this in both of those ways. And the family mode features more streamlined gameplay for newer players, okay? So if you've got families and you think, oh, it might be a little bit too complicated, well, guess what? It doesn't need to be because you can play in the family mode. The solo mode puts your planet up against a black hole. And guess what, Jeff? Black holes? They're very scary.
Mind-boggling.
We don't know much about them.
So fascinating.
Doing? What are they even doing?
I'm obsessed with black holes.
Jeff is literally obsessed with black holes.
They're so crazy. Do you know that they think that there might be something called a white, like the opposite of a black hole?
So
I don't know, man. Don't even bother trying to.
I don't understand.
Science, man.
Any hoozles. Every mode has the same goal. Develop the most biodiverse planet. So, like we mentioned, this game is available as of August 1st. You can try it on a BGA. Jeff has played it many times on BGA.
Yeah, it plays very well on there.
Yeah, when we were at BGG Con, Jeff even taught Mike how to play it.
Yeah, I taught this to a couple of folks. Yeah, it's a very, regardless of family mode, solo mode, or the non-family mode, it is a very easy game to set up, play, and play quickly. It does not take a lot of time. Yeah. I taught and played this in like 15 minutes. It's very quick.
Yes, for anybody that's curious, like I mentioned, it does play solo, but it's 1 to 4 players, 20 minutes, ages 8 and up. So if Biomos sounds like it might be a game for you, definitely check it out. You can pre-order it on the North Star Games website, and I'm sure they are going to have this at Gen Con if you happen to be attending, or you can get it at your friendly local gaming store. And just FYI, there's a cat on the cover. That's a great selling point. They made a very smart marketing decision there. Okay.
Agreed.
And that is Biomos. So thank you again to North Star Games for sponsoring today's Snapshot. Bajah!
All right, next up from Devir Games, sent to us from Devir
Games.
We have Rock Hard 1977 from Jackie Fox.
Who just happens to be the bassist for the Runaways.
Cherry Bomb.
So she knows what's going on
in
the rock and roll world.
This is largely based around her experience in this world. Rock Hard 1977 is a worker placement game, a super thematic worker placement game, where you are trying to make it as a professional musician. So there's multiple different musicians you can be in this game. They all have somewhat asymmetrical abilities. But the core of this game is worker placement, and it's played through a series of days and months, basically, is the best representation of this. So each phase of the game is going to be day, night, and then after hours.
And good happens, it's the after hours.
Each section of those will have different worker placement spots that you will be able to place out your singular musician in order to do things. It's very thematic to the rockstar life. So it might be hiring a publicist. It might be talking to your manager. It might be recording a demo tape. It might be hiring crew. It might be recording a record deal.
Playing a show.
And then the after hours thing is very much a set collection-y type situation where you're trying to collect certain types of cards in order to get a certain amount of those in order to score victory points, in this case 5. It is a race for victory points. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game wins. You also have a job in this game. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have a job card. One of the action selection spots or worker placement slots in this game is your job. And each person will have a unique job that they have to complete. And it happens at different phases. So your job might be during the day. So you can either choose to take a worker spot in the daytime or go to your job to get money. If you miss your job 2 times,
3 times,
you get fired. 3 times, you get fired, and you no longer can take the work action.
But at that point, you're a rock star, man. You don't need it.
You've decided to go full rock star life, and that is your commitment to that world. There are sugar tokens. Wink, wink. That you take to do extra actions.
You get some energy,
but you don't want to have too much candy because it'll upset your stomach.
It'll crash. Big time sugar crash.
Anywho, in this game, again, very thematic. You're just trying to get as much resources as you can to record your record label, to get royalties, and play shows by having those criteria met. So you have to have, in order to play the bigger shows, you have to have crew, you have to have a record player, you have to have songs.
Reputation.
One last thing I want to mention is the player boards of this game are so freaking cool. It looks like an amp. And all of your traits, so your songs, your reputation, all of these things are dials on this amp. It's really cool. You can crash from your sugar high. It's very, very thematic. And I would say plays on the light to mid-weight scale of things.
For sure.
Very, very straightforward. Not overly difficult to set up and play. There is a lot going on, and it seemed a little bit daunting when we first started playing and we're reading the rulebook. But I would say this is a game that once you set up and do a couple actions, it all just clicks and you're off to the races.
Yeah, none of the actions are overly complicated, but everything makes sense in that, of course, I need to hire crew, and I can't play this big show unless I have 8 songs written, because I'm not going to get to play at Carter Stadium unless I have whatever. And then, you know, there's also an action where you can go to bed early, and that's where you actually end up getting to be the first player in the next round. There's also an event that comes up every round that's going to affect the games in some way. There's private goals, there's public goals.
You have to pay your manager.
You have to pay your manager, and that happens at like certain stages of the game. And then your manager also gives you a special ability. So there's a lot to pay attention to, and it is true worker placement in that there are a few spots that anybody can go to, as many, but most of the spots on the board only one person can go to. And so if you're like, I'm ready to get my record deal, and then somebody else goes there, then you're like, well, now what am I going to do for this round? So you have to change your strategy. There's a lot going on, but none of it is complicated. And it definitely, for us, like we played at 2 players. It played relatively quickly. I think the box says around 90 minutes, but I'd say we played for 45 to an hour. Yeah. For us.
The 2-player variant is a variant.
Yes.
It is. There is a Rising Star variant, and it's very straightforward. It just basically blocks certain worker placement sections. Depending on which month you are in. You also have the option to use the Rising Star variant in a 3-player game. It's required for a 2-player game. It is not for a 3. It's an optional 3-player game. This is a game I think would play best at 3+.
I do too.
Just because there's a little bit more interaction, a little bit more decision space on where you'll be blocked from. I would say this game benefits from a really good player aid and very good iconography. The graphic design of this game is, and normally we don't speak to this stuff, but I think that it's good enough in this game to bring up here.
Definitely.
Where anytime we were like, oh, what does that mean again? It's like, oh, it's right here.
It's right here.
It's everything that you need is there. You don't even need to get into the rule book, which I think was phenomenal. Yeah.
And I love, like, just, I don't know if you can see, but do you see how rock hard is written? It's like there. Do you see how cool that is?
Yeah,
and there's paper money.
Yeah, I very much
in a cool way.
I very much actually appreciated how quick this game is. Like it doesn't overstay its welcome.
No, and it doesn't induce a ton of AP.
No,
because there's always something for you to do.
Yeah, and again, like there is enough decisions in this that you can go sideways a bit. Like, Jamie and I think we're pretty tight in terms of our victory points and stuff. I think this is going to resonate with people that like this theme a ton. And I'm actually excited to see if they do. I don't know if they're going to do anything more in this world, but it would be really cool if they did. Yeah. There's a lot they could do, I think.
Yeah, like you could do different types of musicians, because this is all just rock and roll, baby. You know, like this is like classic 70s rock star life. It'd be cool if they did something like in the rap and hip hop world or like stuff like that. But yeah, I'm excited to play it with a few of our friends who are really big into music and stuff like that. So I think that they'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, and there is a ton of musicians to pick from.
There's so many.
And again, there's a bunch of variability, especially at the start, because again, you can pick a different musician. You get a random job. You get random personal goals. Random
new managers.
Random events can come up. So not every game's. While the core decision space is the same, the peripherals are always going to be different.
Yeah. So if you've been curious about Rock Hard, I would definitely recommend it. I thought it was super fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with
it. I mean, it's Devir. You know, we already know. We're going to love it because Devir is awesome. Last but not least, we have Nova Roma from 25th Century Games with this amazing art from the Miko. Freaking love it. I love his art so much.
Nova Roma utilizes a Targi-like action selection grid that is really cool utilized in this way. So ultimately what's happening in Nova Roma is there's a bunch of tracks around the core middle of this board, which is your action selection grid. So depending where you place your meeple, you're going to activate the row and the column that you place that worker in, your meeple in.
Yeah, wherever it intersects, you're doing
there
those two
is
things.
Also a way to get it boosted, so you can do you can boost your action if you place in the same row and column. So there's an Emperor token that's going to be placed randomly based on an Emperor card. If you place in that row and column as the Emperor, it'll boost your action. as well as any other of your other meeples that are in that row or
Yeah.
column. And all of those rows and columns correspond to one or two of the tracks that are around the board. They're not necessarily tracks. Like with the ship location is kind of a track where you're trying to be the first to get your ship to a certain location. One of the areas is actually is a chariot race. One of the areas in that is basically get to from A to B as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
One of the areas is like this. It's not polynomial tile placement, but you're basically placing out cubes trying to create certain patterns.
Yeah, it's like building.
The track in the bottom right, I keep saying track, it's
just section.
Where my brain's area, section, whatever, is tiles you can take to place in your own little Targi-esque board. And it works the same way as the main board does. So if you actually place those where you already have tiles, you're going to activate those rows and columns as well, just like the middle board. So ultimately, it's an efficiency puzzle where you are trying to go up along those different sections to activate those sections as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
And it's a race for victory points.
It is combo-rific, and this is definitely one of those games, because there's also resource management, right? Because you need to pay for stuff with different resources like grapes and stuff like that. And the thing about this game is you want to do everything.
Yeah.
You cannot do everything. Like, I gave up on those chariot races. I was like, you know what, Jeff? You have fun at the races. I'm not doing it. And then I also gave up on sailing eventually because I was like, I can't do this. So I was focused on like the buildings, and I was focused on gaining those tiles to, because basically like the tiles that you're getting when you can place out a little thing there, like Jeff said, it works in the same way. So that's how you're gaining more resources. And then if you have a tile there, gaining even more resource. So I was going resource heavy, but it's just like you can do so many different strategies in this game because there are so many different areas of the board that you are like able to choose from. I would say it can definitely cause a little bit of AP because you are just trying to figure out, okay, like what's best. And when people are placing their workers onto the grid, like they're blocking you from stuff.
Yeah.
Because if somebody else is there, you can't go there. So if there's two specific actions that you wanted to do, you can't do it if somebody else
there's only one combination of two actions for someone to go to. So if someone goes there before you do, you're blocked out of it.
Yeah.
I very much like Targi's a game that people love. And this isn't like this action selection isn't exactly like Targi, but it's it's
vibes.
It's the closest thing I could think of. And I really, really enjoyed the way they utilized this just for the action selection part of it, surrounding by all of these different things that you can do.
And every section works differently.
Yeah, each section is somewhat its own little mini game.
Yeah.
And there's also like you can get artisan cards, and it helps you like build up your resource engine and that sort of thing. So it's just a very combo-rific. If you like track games that have all of these tracks that you're boosting up, definitely one to check out because it feels similar, even though it's not technically tracks. It plays the same way. Yeah.
I loved it. I had such a good time playing this game. And I mean, like, I also love the artwork. It's just like, it was just fun. And it didn't how long did it does it say the time? So, and it only took maybe like an hour to play at two players. Yeah. And I don't know. I really liked it. I just think that there is a lot to explore in this game within strategies and everything because like you're not going to do the same strategy every time. You're going to want to try different things. So anyways, that is Nova Roma from 25th Century Games. So shout out to them for sending this to us. We freaking loved it. But that is everything we have for today, and those are 5 more games that we have been playing recently and what we think about them. Once again, shout out to North Star Games for sponsoring today's video. Definitely check them out if you are at Gen Con. We love all of their games, basically. So, but that is everything we have now. If you're interested in buying board games like any of the many that we mentioned today, you should first start by checking your friendly local gaming store. For us, that is
the Boardroom Game Cafe.
If you like what you see,
please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye. Goodbye!
There it is.
Ready, Jeff? Sheesh, you said you were ready forever ago. Even better. We got them more. The best part is they're not even that noticeable on your face. I know, right? Exactly. What? Oh, whatever, Jeff. As if you don't make any typos.
Whoever has the most points wibs.
Yeah, exactly. It's fitting. Get away from our eyes, camera.
Can't do it.
I can, Jeff. Close your eyes, Jeff. You're on the wrong side of it. Put that back up, Jeff. You're being ridiculous. That's what this card says.
Clever. You just think that up on the spot?
Frumple Pumple.
I can't believe you said I'm toasty.
You are. And I'm Thumple Pop.
What, am I toasty because he's grumpy?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'm bubbly.
It's unbelievable.
I'm bubbly. Your shirt's ripped.
Yeah, I know. It's been ripped for
I didn't know that.
ever.